You can of course replicate out of your Galera cluster and have Galera cluster acting as a master, and you can replicate out to a single MySQL server to be used, let's say, as a last disaster recovery method. Of course, you can also replicate out to other single MySQL servers to do backups or reports on instead of your main master Galera cluster. Replicating between Galera clusters can be done using MySQL asynchronous replication as well. Same thing as you can do with MySQL cluster replication. If you can have applications writing to different database schemas depending on the region, for example, then you shouldn't have any issues with conflicts, because the replication that goes across the MySQL replication channel will hit different schemas. But of course, instead of having asynchronous replication between two data centers, you can also set up the regular MySQL, the regular Galera cluster nodes across the data centers, which is actually the most common way to provide some failover between two different data centers, actually. Yes. Okay. Another thing that you can do also is to use the Galera cluster as a multi-source sink, so you can replicate into the Galera cluster different databases from different MySQL servers. And we have a great blog post on that on our site on how to set that up. Okay, I think we'll have a last poll here, I think, Vinay?
Yes. So let me just pull that up. So the last poll of the webinar, what tool do you use to monitor and manage your database? Nagios, Zabbix, MySQL Enterprise Monitor, which is what you get when you basically use the sort of commercial subscriptions from Oracle, Cluster Control, or other. Okay, so thank you for participating. We'll be sharing the results right after you guys have voted. Okay. So let me just close the poll and share the results. So half of the audience is on Nagios, which is kind of confirming a little bit what we see from all the previous polls. And then we have about a third on Zabbix, and then it's tied between Oracle and MySQL Enterprise Monitor and Cluster Control, and then about half is actually running other solutions. Okay, thank you. So back to you, Alex.
Yeah, thank you. So at Synchronous, we have, of course, our own database management tool, which is Cluster Control. And what makes it a bit special is that we can monitor and manage different types of data clusters in the same application. So you can have MySQL cluster, you can have Galera cluster, and even MongoDB in a replica set or sharded environment in one and the same tool. And we do a lot of automated operations like node and cluster recovery, backups. You can scale out your Galera cluster very easily from our application, and you can also create clusters very easily from Cluster Control. And of course, we all have all the regular monitoring graphs and things like that. So I'm going to show you a bit about Cluster Control in a demo here. Oh, sorry. Let's see if I can. Do you see my screen?
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry. Yep. Okay. So this is Cluster Control. Here I have two clusters, one Galera cluster and one MySQL cluster, NDB cluster. And this is using the same application. And with Galera, we have a bunch of stats A good one is the overview page, which shows you the cluster load, the overall cluster load that you have. And it shows you the regular, the metrics, insert, selects, and so on. You can also see some of the more Galera specific statistics, like the send queues, the receive queues, and how many times maybe replication has been stopped because of load issues. And you also get information about the actual host itself, the CPU utilization, the memory utilization, disk usage, and things like that. Another nice thing is also that we have different dashboards where you can define your own graphs that you would like to look at, like query performance, NDB disk IO, and things like that. And this is the cluster load, but you can also see the load on each individual servers. So for each individual Galera node, you can also see how each of those are performing in terms of the query performance. And of course, with cluster control, you can automatically schedule backups using MySQL dump or XtraDB. We also have a query monitor where you can check your top running queries and also see which queries are being slow. And in the same application here, you can also check your MySQL NDB cluster for issues and for performance. Same thing here, we show the cluster load that you have. Right now I don't have any traffic here, but you get some information also about the database nodes, the data nodes, so we can see how much data memory each data node is utilizing, index memory and things like that. You can set uptime and which version of the SQL that you have running at the side. And of course, you can do a backup here, and the backup here on the NDB cluster is done using the native, this is called NDB backup. You don't use MySQL dump from cluster control. If you like to have, let me see if I know. So if you like to have a MySQL dump, then unfortunately you have to do it manually. But we do the native NDB backup through cluster control. You can of course schedule backups to be run at any time. Okay, Vinay, back to you. I think this last.
Yes, thank you. So we have a couple of questions here. Now we'll just go through the questions. So if you have any questions, please write them now, as we'll be covering questions over the next couple of minutes. So question from Steve: what's the maximum latency between data center 1 and data center 2 if you're doing Galera cluster master replication between the two data centers?
So if you just use Galera, so Galera is running fine with latencies up to 100 milliseconds to 300. I think we have seen numbers on. So there really is no max in sense of you can probably configure the network settings to handle quite large latencies, but yeah.
Okay. All right. In terms of the using asynchronous replication between two sites, are there any latency restrictions there? That's another one.
Well, it depends on how much lag that you can handle between the clusters, I guess. I mean, so if it's asynchronous, you have the same issues that you have with the regular MySQL asynchronous replication, right? So it depends on your application, I guess, how much lag that you can stand.
Right. So basically, it's the lag will depend on that.
Yeah, especially if you use the MySQL asynchronous replication.
Okay. All right. Okay. Another question in terms of backing up databases. Is there a speed difference if you do an NDB backup on a 50 gig database compared to like an extra backup on a Galera cluster, 50 gigs?
So you compare two different backup methods?
Yeah.
So that's very difficult. So both are basically physical backup. So XtraBackup does a physical backup of the data basically, and NDB does the same. So, but I have no idea, which will be faster. It's two different implementations. It's very difficult to compare.
Okay. All right. Another question here. Can you monitor standalone MySQL servers, and what is needed to add to each MySQL server in order to get those data stats?
So yes, we can monitor single servers, and there's really nothing that you need to do. You can actually just add that single server through our user interface, and then we will start to connect to the host and fetch the MySQL stats automatically. So on your single MySQL server, there's really nothing that you need to do there.
Right.
It's all agentless. Cluster control is agentless.
Right. Oh, okay. Let me just see here. So a question on applications used. Do you know if Galera Cluster can be used for WordPress multi-site running 5,000 plus WordPress sites to provide HA between two data centers?
Well, yeah. So Galera can definitely run on WordPress. Then and the next question is the performance, and then that all depends on how you configure it and how powerful your servers are and things like that. So, but definitely Galera runs great with WordPress.
Right. Right. Okay. One more question in terms of, let's say, hardware requirements. To achieve the same performance, would you say that you need more hardware for Galera as compared to NDB or vice versa?
That's a good question. So master cluster is really dependent on CPU process speed and the number of cores that you have on the servers. So I would say that performance-wise, you probably will have to have less hardware or less powerful machines with master cluster than you probably need to have with Galera, because master cluster is really good at utilizing the hardware stack really in terms of providing multi-threaded performance and utilizing every ounce of the CPU, because the database nodes are really fast in that sense. The data nodes, sorry.
Right, and I guess if you have joins and things like that, then you would probably want to avoid doing that in MySQL cluster.
Yeah, joins are still okay with MySQL cluster, but if you have very complex joins and things like that, then that will be probably be a lot slower than you can get from a Galera cluster.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Alex. So I think we've reached at the end of the hour here, and basically we'll be ending this webinar. So if there's any more questions, please feel free to to shoot us an email. But yeah, I mean, as you see here, we have we have more webinars from the past, and this one will come up in in the next couple of days. There is a Galera tutorial on the website, as well as a full MySQL cluster training, basically set of slides that you can view online. So any more questions, feel free to contact us. Hope you enjoyed this, and thank you very much again for taking the time to attend. And yeah, if you have any feedback, just let us know. Okay, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.